Hi, I'm Sarah Nell, and I am the Data Literacy Strategic Manager at Qlik, and I help organizations bridge that gap with data literacy skills today.
All right, great. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being on Humans of Data Science. I'm super excited to talk to you. I've seen your posts on LinkedIn. I know you joined the group with Jordan recently, right? But you've been with Qlik for about 1.5 years, is that right?
Yeah, I've been with Qlik 1.5 years, and then I just recently joined Jordan's team. It was actually official on New Year's Day, so I started off the year with him.
Okay, cool. So it's been about a month. Nice.
It has, almost exactly.
Yes. So what kind of projects are you guys working on now at Qlik?
Well, we just had a huge announcement last week at Qlik's sales kickoff where we announced data literacy as a service. So really focusing on that right now, where data literacy as a service has consulting, it has education. So it's really thinking about all those components that organizations need to be successful. That's been the big thing.
Are you guys working with kind of all of the industries, or are you specifically focused on some areas?
No, that's the great thing about data literacy. It's not just one industry that's impacted. A lot of people think it's usually tech that you think about as far as data literacy, but it's everyone. So we're talking to different federal customers, we're talking to healthcare, higher education too, so everyone.
Yeah, I can see it impacting everybody. And I can see that you're like excited about spreading this mission of data literacy. So I wanted to ask, where does your motivation come from in terms of pushing this agenda of data literacy forward?
I think for me, first, that's a really great question. I really like that question, just because the reason I am so motivated about it, why I'm so enthusiastic, is because it's personal to me. I wouldn't be where I am in my career had I not somehow gained data literacy skills along the way. I didn't actively go out there and learn analytics or different platforms or software. It was something I had to learn because I was in retail, just a checker at a grocery store, and I didn't want to be that for my whole entire life. So I took classes, I went to school, and I just kept getting different jobs that taught me different skills on the job, and it really made a huge difference for me. And I want that to exist for other people too, knowing that these skills really make a difference, not just to you individually, but also to other people on an organization level too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you and I have similar backgrounds. I used to wait tables at a restaurant, and then I worked at a bagel store for a pretty long time, all through college. And then that's when I realized this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life.
No, it's great working with people, but I mean, it's very hard to survive on that type of income. So you have to somehow find a way to keep going forward. And for me, it was tech skills.
Yeah, great. All right, so I know that Qlik World is coming up in May, and you have a Women in Data panel coming up that you're going to be hosting. So I wanted to ask, what can people expect to experience at the event? I've never been to the Qlik World event. I've been to a smaller kind of Qlik event in New York City last year, but what can we expect?
Well, I only have the experience of going to one Qlik World event, or as it was called, Qlik Connections. And my first one was last year, and I absolutely loved it. It was in Texas, and pretty much every single facet and component that makes up success with Qlik is at the Qlik World. You have customers who are using the platform. You have like the different branches of services. Like I was with education for a long time, so I got to talk to people about education. But then another big part of it is data literacy. So really talking about data literacy and what is the impact on organizations. You get a lot of customers talking about their success with it and the different steps that they took in order to be successful. And I know that's also going to be a big part of it this year. The part I'm really pushing for too is just really more visibility for women in the data literacy world. So I will, like you mentioned, have a panel, which I'm hoping you'll be on.
Maybe, let's see how it goes.
Fingers. But I really want to show that data literacy isn't just about an organization, it's about diversity and inclusion. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that actually leads me to the next question, which is in data literacy, where can people get started, right? You said you were working in retail and, you know, you kind of changed your life around and became data literate and learned all these skills. What can people do, let's say, if they're not in a job where their company's data driven or data literate, but you personally want to start that journey?
Well, on an individual level, I think that when I had to gain these tech skills almost 20 years ago versus now, it's a completely different world. And I think just acknowledging that you want to gain those skills is half of it. Just saying, I really want to go out there and learn something new and really upskill where I can be in life. Um, Obviously, going to the internet is a big part of that. There's a lot of different platforms available. Obviously, Qlik, we have a lot of free education content out there. Just to even learn what the world of data literacy is and what some of the components are, some of the skills that support that. All of our education is free. But there's a lot of online platforms today too. Like, I'm a huge fan of where education is going and the different platforms available, like Coursera, edX, Udemy. So it's really exciting to see the accessibility and availability of education today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's how I picked up the skills. It was literally Googling. It was Tableau at the time, but you know, what is data? What is data science? And what's data visualization? And that's literally how I got started.
I think the hard
Um,
part of that, though, is how do you go out there, Google, and look at all this information? It's really disseminating and distilling what should I take
oh
instead.
yeah, there's so much out there.
Yeah,
That's the problem people have. I mean, now, you know, if back then it was an issue to find a textbook and be able to buy the textbook, now people are, you know, swimming in information, and then there are ebooks available for free, and there are thousands of them,
right.
and you just don't know which one to spend your time on. So I think that's the key here, is finding the right content to study.
Exactly.
So I went snooping around your LinkedIn profile
Oh
and I came
boy.
across an article. It says, "Be afraid, how to face fear and find your courage." So you climbed up some kind of tall pole and you jumped on some kind of wire. Was that it? I mean, tell us more about that, because I have a question
Oh
on something
boy.
there.
um, Anyone who knows me or is a close friend of mine, I have an absolutely, I would say it's a phobia, actually. I'm just going to say I have a terrible phobia of heights.
Okay.
And to the point where I can't even get up very high without just feeling absolutely paralyzed with fear. I literally feel like I'm going to die.
Oh my God. Okay.
And I've been like that the majority of my life. Heights have always just paralyzed me. But instead of letting it affect me and keep me from doing things, I try to face them all the time. And every time I do, there's always an amazing sense of accomplishment that I was able to put myself out there and face something that I really felt was going to be harmful to my well-being
Yeah.
and accomplish something for me. And I think that's just my approach to life, that you have to be afraid of something. You're always going to be afraid of something, but face that fear and don't let it paralyze you to the extent where you're not going to realize something great can come from it.
Yeah, and I was really inspired by your article. And I know you shared some advice around what stood out for me was setting small goals and kind of celebrating them once you achieve them. So I wanted to ask, do you apply something like this to work or your daily life?
Every day, honestly. I think just the way that we're brought up today with social media and seeing how accomplished a lot of people are, we feel like we have to take these huge leaps and bounds in order to be considered successful. But this is why I think data literacy is also so personal to me. It's those small incremental things, those little knowledge gaps that you fill, or those little challenges you face on a daily basis. If you just keep doing that, that's all going to grow and build into something bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are some of the goals that you've set for yourself for the next few years? What are the little small goals that you're going to take on?
Well, definitely this year, being on Jordan's team. Jordan is this amazing, enthusiastic person who has this very contagious energy when he's on stage. And not that I want to be like Jordan, but I definitely want to work on my public
Don't
stage
be
presence.
like Jordan. People out there, don't try to be Jordan.
That sounds like a t-shirt.
Yes.
But definitely my public speaking presence is something I'm working on this year. That's a small goal that I want to take on and just really focus on that. But also really showing how data literacy can impact smaller groups of people too, just to show that it is something where you should consider diversity and inclusion. Especially, I want to look at women in tech, that data literacy is really impactful to women in tech. And then also just underserved communities too, people who are looking to change jobs. So those are two of the areas I really want to focus on too in my own personal life. So public speaking and then just data literacy outside of the regular business that you normally think of it in.
Great, very, very admirable. And Sarah, the last question I have for you is, what do you like to do outside of data literacy, outside of work?
That is such an easy question to answer.
I saved it for last, you know?
That's almost the easiest question of all. Well, there are two things that my husband and I have an absolute love for that our lives and friends totally incorporate into it, and it's food and drink.
Food and drinks, so that's great.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you could also add travel to that mix too, but we love making food. That's actually our huge hobby. If we're not working, we're planning some elaborate meal to have friends over to eat. I'll usually do a lot of the cooking, and then he loves mixing cocktails. So he'll make cocktails, and even better if you can travel and do all that too.
And who does the cleaning? Just had to ask.
I try to make him do all the cleaning since I'm the one doing the cooking. You know? Yeah, it's only fair.
Right, absolutely. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time to be on Humans of Data Science.
Thank you so much, Kate. It was great.